Walk through Lower Manhattan today, and you are surrounded by some of the most iconic 19th century architecture in America. These cast iron facades in Soho anchor a neighborhood built to a human scale, a place designed for walking, living, and breathing. But imagine if this exact street was suddenly buried under millions of tons of concrete. Imagine if a massive, multi-level elevated highway slammed right through the middle of these blocks, and the constant roar of traffic blotted out the sun. This was the Lower Manhattan Expressway, or LOMAX. In the 1960s, city planners fully approved a 6-lane interstate to tear directly across the island. The bulldozers were practically idling. So how does a fully funded mega project designed to wipe 14 blocks of New York off the map suddenly stop dead in its tracks? The fight over this invisible highway forced the entire field of urban planning to answer one question: do we build cities to move machines or to house people? To understand how LOMAX got approved, we have to look at the man who drew it, Robert Moses. Mid-century New York was effectively his personal drafting board. To a planner with his level of absolute authority, the city looked like a toy to be arranged from above. His logic was straightforward. The automobile was taking over, and older, dense city blocks had to be carved open to let the traffic flow. This map outlines the plan. LOMAX was a high-speed artery linking the Holland Tunnel to the Williamsburg Bridge. Making it work required a massive physical footprint, cloverleaf interchanges, and a trench of demolition wiping out 14 blocks. 2,000 families were to be evicted. Moses had already built structures exactly like this throughout the boroughs. His vision of progress left neighborhoods sliced in half by massive, sterile concrete trenches. To legally justify clearing out thousands of residents, the city relied on a bureaucratic designation called urban blight. By labeling these areas as expendable slums on paper, the state could easily seize the land. From an office desk looking down at a map, communities didn't exist. There was only geographical friction slowing down the commute. But the view from the sidewalk revealed an entirely different reality. The neighborhoods targeted for demolition, Little Italy, Soho, Chinatown, were not abandoned slums. They were thriving networks of immigrant families who had been there for generations. The streets supported a dense local economy of corner shops, vendors, and shared stoops. It was a chaotic, functioning ecosystem that top-down engineering couldn't quantify. Enter Jane Jacobs. She was a journalist and local resident who understood that cities are delicate, living organisms. Where planners saw blight, she saw community. And she fought back with ground-level details, organizing neighbors to scrutinize the blueprints. Jacobs and the residents presented a counter-argument that is now a cornerstone of urban design. Pouring concrete over a neighborhood does not revitalize it, it destroys it. For years, Moses had bulldozed his projects through with little meaningful opposition. This time, the targeted neighborhoods formed a highly organized, unified coalition. They jammed the gears of the city's bureaucracy. They filed lawsuits, interrupted planning meetings, and leveraged the press to strip away the project's political support. The sheer volume of people who showed up to rallies proved that this was a massive working-class resistance protecting their homes. The planners had designed a flawless engineering schematic, but they failed to account for a highly mobilized local population willing to fight for every inch of pavement. The friction worked. After years of relentless pushback, political support for the highway eroded. By the early 1970s, LOMAX was officially canceled. Because the bulldozers never arrived, the iron-cast buildings of Soho, the storefronts of Little Italy, and the streets of Chinatown survived intact. The defeat proved that a modern city did not have to prioritize cars over pedestrians, halting similar expressway projects across the country. Today, Lower Manhattan is one of the most culturally dense and highly valued pieces of real estate in the world. None of that would exist if it were sitting in the permanent shadow of a 6-lane overpass. LOMAX is an architectural ghost. It stands as a permanent reminder that the neighborhoods we value most are only here because the people living in them fought to keep the city built for humans.